Hi, I'm Renda, and this is my first video teaching people how to do something, so bear with me. You're in my studio with me and also with Precious. I have to be so careful of her because, you know, men in their cars. So we're going to be working on making something from the Potter October box. That's Potter USA. And those of you who subscribe know that you get a box every month. And this is from October 2020. It's a pancake die that is a Celtic knot. It's made for Celtic to make a Celtic knot. Only a lot of us were saying, well, wait, I don't see the knottiness part of it. Where is the, I see there's a cutout there, but how do I turn that into a knot? And I figured out how to do it using wire to make a thing that I wanted to show you, but you know, I'm not good at this, so I don't have it ready. But, ha! You can't hide from me. Okay, this is the thing I made. And it is 18 gauge copper wire sitting on top of the 18 gauge cutout from the die. And that's using full hard copper, as Kevin always suggests we do. And I don't know what I'm going to do with this thing. Maybe it'll be an earring. For now, it's just a puzzle that I wanted to show you how to make. Before I go any further, I want you to know this is hard. Yeah, it is. And if my editing skills are up to the challenge, then I'm going to make it look easy. But it's not easy. Just look at this. It's my pile of rejects. So don't get frustrated until you've made at least this many, because this is hard. Is the supply list, and you can download it using the link at the bottom of this video. The first thing we're going to do is make a jig, and to do that we're going to need a board, and I'm going to use this one, which I broke in half with my foot in Taekwondo because I'm that awesome. This design is created by making two different shapes out of copper wire and then weaving those two together. And you can see the two distinct shapes here on the pattern that I have colored and taped to my board. And the next thing that I'm going to do is I've cut out two shapes from the die and in 18 gauge hard copper, and I've marked them on the places where I want to drill. And you can see here where those marks are. They correspond to the places that the wire will wrap. See, on this one it's going to wrap around here, and on this one the middle one will wrap around there. So I haven't given you a pattern for these because I think you can eyeball it pretty well based on the thickness of your wire. Now I'm going to go punch and drill these. The pieces are drilled and seated back on the board, and I have not made a tools list for you because I think you probably all have these tools in your shop. But I will tell you what I use as I go along for reference. To drill these, I used the dense ply drill bit, and I don't know which one of those numbers up there is the size. It might be 58, it might be 20. But that's what it looks like, and I really like these dense ply drill bits. If you're still wondering about the placement of the holes, then I suggest you watch the rest of the video. When you see how the wrap goes, that will give you a better idea of where these holes need to be. And now the next thing I'm going to do is drill through these pieces into the board to create a guide for the finishing nails that I will drive in. Now, if you're very clever, you can do this all at once. You could tape these on there, drill through the copper, drill through the board. I'm not very clever, so I don't try to do it all at once because it will slip and I will screw it up. How do I know? Well, I've already done all of this, you see, and you don't need to look at it. Okay, you're going to drill this thing with me because I decided it would be boring if I just went away and did stuff, brought it back and showed it to you. So maybe I'll just speed this up when I'm done. But it's taped to the board, and here I go. I put another board underneath my design board so that I wasn't hammering into my bench, which I've done a time or two. So the next thing I'm going to do is cut these tips off that are poking out through the bottom. Put my PPE on for this part. To do the cutting, I'm using Dedico Ruby Mini Slitters, the absolute best for fastest, coolest cutting of non-precious and semi-precious ceramic metals, so they say. They work dandy, really dandy. Cuts like butter. Okay, that's about how long it takes, and I will cut the rest of them and speed it up so you don't have to just, sit through it. Now I'm going to turn this over and trim the tops. Now you might say to me, Renda, why didn't you just do that all at once? And the reason is, why didn't you just drive your nails in from the bottom side and then you just have to trim once? Well, the reason is I can't drive a nail straight. I'm sorry, but I can't. So I do it this way because I want them to come out in exactly the places I need them, and I can't drive them from the backside. I cannot be sure of that. So, mask back on, here we go. The reason I'm cutting the top is because I need to have these little heads out of the way so I can slide things, the form on and off. At any point, you might be thinking, oh, you know what, I can think of a better way to do that. Well, by all means, please share. This is the only way I could think of. Don't touch that, it's hot. Don't touch it, it's hot. I got a blister that way. one last tip here. You don't want to run these cutoff discs too hard or too fast, because they get hot and then they deform a little bit or they break. And so just like medium, about that fast, medium fast. I don't know how many RPMs that is. You have to play around. This one's a little tall, so I'm going to cut it some more. Now we get to the heart of the situation. We get to bend some wire. So I have, since you last saw this, added a couple things. There's a 2.5 inch mark and a 6 inch mark, because that's the length I need to cut the wire for the two different pieces. And also I've added some beads, copper beads that are 3/16 of an inch, because I want my wrap on that side to be a little fatter than these finishing nails are. You can use whatever you have at hand that might increase the diameter, or maybe just use nothing. But this is how I've done it. I'm starting with 20 gauge copper wire. You might want to start with something thinner, like 18. I can do it at this size. I know I can, even though I might have more than one try. I'm going to call the two wrap pieces that I make the rectangle piece and the infinity piece, because these are oriented to one another in a rectangle, and this center piece is an infinity sign, and that's what gets wrapped over here. So starting with the 6 inch piece, I'm going to do the infinity wrap. And the trick here is to follow the overs and unders in the diagram. So if you study the diagram, you can see that the first wrap is an over. So I'm going to start like this with the edge of the piece against the bottom nail, and I'm wrapping it around in a clockwise direction until I get to this one, which also wraps in the clockwise direction, but it's an under. So I have to pull this off, orient the wire to underneath, and put it back on. Putting it back on, you could use the help of something pointy like this. It's a frets pointy thing. Punch, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to use the frets pointy thing to drag these back on where they go, which is not always as easy as it looks. There we go. Back, 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 back. There we go. Now, this bottom one is an over, so I don't have to take it off again. I can just go ahead and wrap it around. The right side is, I put it on the wrong side there, so you gotta watch that. You gotta watch which side of this nail you want to put your wrap on, and if you put it on the wrong side and wrap the wrong way, your design won't come out right. So caught myself doing it the wrong way. So this one is another under. So I'm going to wrap it this far, and then I'm going to take it off and realign that wire. I might have wrapped it just a little bit too far to start with. Realign that wire, put it back on. If you wrap really tight in the beginning, this gets a little hard. I might be wrapping too tight on account of being nervous. Okay. There's my under. And now these two are going to match up. And I need to reach for another tool. Using one of my pliers, I think I'll use this one with the flat blade. I'm going to line these two up. Trying to keep my hands out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. I want to get the top wire and the bottom wire right over each other so I can cut them. So there you go, they're right over each other right now. And they're pretty straight. Doing this and keeping your hands out of the way of the camera is not anything near as easy as Kate Richburg makes it look. Okay. She's really, really good and I'm not. All right, now you gotta cut. And I'm using my, what are these? Euro tool. Flat cutters? Somebody in the comments can tell me what these are really called, but anyway, I like them quite a lot. So just make sure you get the beveled side pointing toward the end of your wire because you want a flat cut. And so what I do is I like to cut the bottom piece first. So I forgot that that's a technique that I developed. I was just carrying on the old way I did it. So when I cut the bottom piece first, then I find it a little easier to line up the top piece for that cut because what I'm going for here, and again, aim the bevel toward the end of the wire. What I'm going for here is a flush cut that I will solder. So now I'm going to put this other wire over the top and I'm going to line it up with the bottom wire. Probably can't see that. Try this. And just cut it flush. Flush cutters, that's what these are called. And they really only cut flush on one side. So now I've got a wrap with two ends that meet up flush. And I'm going to solder this. When I solder it, there you can see it up close. When I solder it, it's also going to anneal it. And that makes it more flexible, and I don't necessarily want that. But I've tried doing it with the two ends not soldered together, and it just keeps popping apart when I do the next part. So I've decided soldering is the best. And I'm going to use hard solder paste. And I have kind of a love-hate relationship with solder paste, but in this case I love it because I need just a teensy bit and it goes really fast. Kate Richburg taught me this. Put just a little bit on your thumbnail and then you can use your solder pick from your thumbnail to transfer to your piece. And this is like way more than I need, so I'm going to try and, it just takes a teensy bit because you just have that one little join. And that might still be too much, but we'll see. Okay, the audio is going to be a little hard, so I'll shout, a little hard to hear, because I've got my mask on, and that thing in the background is my oxygen concentrator, which I use on my Smith Little torch. Now I'm going to try and solder this without frying my iPhone, which is perched about a foot above it to record. And now I'm channeling Kate telling me, heat the metal, not the join. Heat the metal, not the join. Look at how hot it gets, oh, really fast. And there it flowed. You can heat the join at the end. Oh, Kate will be so proud. now we're going to wrap the infinity part, and it's real quick and easy. I just put the 2.5-inch piece with the middle in the middle, and then I wrap opposite directions until they come around and meet in the middle. And then I'm going to cut them flush again, but I'm not going to solder. There's the rectangle piece, fresh from the pickle, with that beautiful joint, and the infinity piece, which I've flush cut the two ends to meet. Now comes the tricky part. I'm not even sure I can do this on camera. Yes, I can. Of course I can. Okay. Following the guide, I know that this piece, which I'm going to separate a little bit just like you would a jump ring, with one pointing up and one pointing down. So I know that this piece has to go through this piece somehow. Okay, so this is the middle of the infinity piece, and it goes over the arm of the rectangle piece. That'd be the left, call that the left upper arm. And then it goes under and through the little loop there, so it looks like this now. And then the next piece has to go under the lower left arm. So let me try that. It's hard to do because I can't see what I'm doing. If you can see what I'm doing, then I can't. So there, aha, I pulled it off. It is under, over, under. There we go. It's now over, under, over, under. That's that side. And I'm gonna squeeze that together a little bit. And as my dad used to say, hold your mouth just right. And work on the other side. This is where it just gets hard. Okay, because the trick is don't let this side pop out. This side's gonna want to pop out. Don't let that happen. And this side will break your heart. Okay, here we go. It goes over the lower right leg, under the loop, over the loop, and under the upper right leg. So here we go. I'm going to switch it to over, like that, under, and up. Okay. Now, I have to go under that leg, under the upper left leg, upper right leg, and the final piece is the one that really is irritating, and that is I'm going to have to get them to come up over, because the last pieces, they go, these two side pieces, these two end curves have to go up over the piece, the cross piece of the infinity curve. And that's just really hard to do, and I'm not sure I can do it while you're watching. Let me see if I put it down here. first I try to push this down a little bit, and then if I hold my mouth just right and get my chain nose pliers out, I can pull this and squeeze it. Now this is the part, and then this is the part where Charles Lutenbrain says, if you don't want a mark on your metal, then don't put it there. So I'm trying not to put a mark on my metal with the chain nose pliers, but I have to maneuver this thing so that this will go over the soldered piece. Oh, no, 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 oh, sorry, under the soldered piece, and then back up, 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 and there it is. Okay, now things are looking a little wonky, but we'll sort that out after the solder. So you do one more little adjustment, which is I'm going to put this up there with it. So I have now, if you can see, I have two pieces that join each other on the top. They're fairly well flush. No, they're not. So I'm going to smush them down with this. It's a piece from my dapping set, a punch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this down. Let's see if I can get it back on here, which would really help with the deformation. All right, this is the part where I need to cut away and cuss. It's back on there. I used these while I was cut away, and these are my Weber's nylon jawed pliers. I love them. And this, and I just fussed around with it, pushing this way and that way, using these to get it back where the shape I want it to be. And I didn't record all of that because you don't want to see that. It took me probably 4 minutes, and who wants to see 4 minutes of me fumbling around? Not me. I don't even want to see it. So there it is. I'm not entirely happy with the way it looks now, but I'm going to do just a little more while you watch. And that is, I'm going to try and make this look more round again, and I can assist with that by gently grabbing the end and pulling it. And my objective here is to get these two pieces on the top touching each other so that I can solder them together. Now you don't have to solder at this point. If you are very clever, your infinity doesn't look wonky. Mine looks a little wonky over here. So when I solder, then I know I can make some final adjustments and pull it this way and that. So that's what I plan to do. Come in with the feathery tip and a little close, and you can see it catch fire there. I'm trying to heat around it. Oh, it started to flow, but went not the way I want. So come this way. Please come this way. Oh, I biffed it. I cleaned it up a little with my jewel tool and stuck some more solder on there. I think what was going on is I didn't have the ends really tight together. So I'm trying this again. right? I think it did. Not as good as the first time, but it'll work. I took this out of the pickle just a little bit early because I'm impatient to finish. So it still has some darkness to it. I am mounting it back on the jig for final adjustments, and I'm hoping this will go smoothly because it's been annealed a couple of times now. There we go. All right, so you can see that it has, oh, you know, it's misshapen a little bit, and the way I fix that is I use my chain nose pliers. No. What are these? These are not chain nose. These are, I don't know, wrapping pliers. Somebody look that up and tell me in the comments. Anyway, I use these roundy ones. And I just go in there and tweak everything a little bit. It's going to be tough to get it so you can see this. Let's see. So I just, this way and that, you know, plunge it down in there and see what that does, and then turn it this way and see what that does. And nobody's ever going to pay me to make videos because, you know, look at me. Let's see what that does. I crack myself up. Okay, so I'll just keep doing this until I get really bored, or until I think it's decent enough. And it might be decent enough now. Right over here, it still has a little bit of a kinky place. And when I think I'm done, I'll use my smasher. No, not a smasher. What is this? Punch. And my very favorite hammer in the world, my Bonnie Doon 16 ounce. I love this thing. Here we go. And then I'll just smash that down a little bit. And it's done. I don't know what I'm going to do with it next, but this part is done. The last thing I want to do is give a shout out to one of my favorite teachers, Kate Ferrant-Richburg. If you need to learn to do soldering or anything beginning metalsmithy, Kate's your gal. And she's got some great books. Oh, look, I've got one here. Try to get your hands on this one. Mine came with a DVD. I don't know if they still do that, but the book is still on Amazon. Bye-bye.